Oh my goodness. It is 5/13/2013 at 12:01. At 12 o'clock, I decided I'd been talking for about 20 minutes and had wrapped up this video and found that the video wasn't even recording. And boy, was it a good one. Let me see if I can redo this. Oh man, it's really funny because I was talking about the snow globe effect that was going on in April and this separation of all of those in our dimensional awarenesses of the 3D, which is going to the bottom of the snow globe real quick, the 4D, which is still dealing with ego, but a little bit their heart, the balance between the two, and they're going down on top of the 3D people, and then the 5D, those of us flakes, which are just kind of hanging in there and floating slowly down. And boy, am I one of those flakes, because I totally messed that whole video up by not recording it. Oh man, what a trip. It is such a hoot. Man, we are really going through some clearing. And it's different with every single one of us. It all depends on where our consciousness is focused. If our consciousness is focused 3D and out the exterior illusion, we think the world's collapsing. Man, are those persons getting dense right now and getting slammed hard. And they're holding on to their lower vibrations and negativity and all those things. Not realizing their spiritual side, and they're having a rough time here because they're not listening to spirit saying it's time to wake up. We're in a global consciousness shift, a universal shift, the end times, and it's time to remember you're a spiritual being. And then it's so funny to watch the 4D persons who understand their spirituality, and they've still got some density because they're living out of their ego, and they're between their heart and their head, and they've got a little bit more density because they haven't really totally let go of the sides of the river or the swimming pool or however you wish to look at that, and decided to float down that 5D river of energy and go where spirit is guiding them. And they're still trying to control and manipulate and stay anchored into their illusionary process and even control and manipulate others. And those of us who are 5D, many of those of us who are 5D have been controlled and manipulated by persons who we associated with, friends, family members, and could be government or churches or whatever, or organizations or business or, could be anything that we devoted ourselves to in our unlimited giveness to others because they were always so needy and we did not have an equal energy exchange in return. And as those of us who are in 5D, we're floating, we're flaking out. We're taking longer to float to the bottom, and those heavier wet snowflakes are going donk. Oh man. And it's all because of energy and vibration and clearing and the release of negativities, the release of our ego selves, and really moving into the center point of the heart. Really, I mean, that is a process of going farther and farther and farther to the center to expand out in dimensional awareness. But it all comes from the heart. You do not, you're totally limited to fourth dimension as long as you're sticking within your head. And there's many persons that are head to heart in fourth dimension right there. And they're really having some issues in trying to grab a hold of many of those of us who are doing our clearing, who are becoming those lighter snowflakes in the snow globe, the last to settle down, and we're really seeing the cream rising to the top, if you will. And I don't like it called that, but everybody on this planet is going through the ascension process, whether they're awake to it or whether they're not awake to it in 3D, awake to it, but not releasing and going with the flow as in 5D, but remaining in the 4D, thinking that they can control the illusion to the exterior by how they think and stuff, rather than doing it from their heart center. And those of us in 5D who have shifted the consciousness from the head to the heart, activating our electromagnetic toward our energy field, our light body, our light within our being, and our Merkaba that's around us. That is a process that people have to go through in that shifting from the head to the heart and activation of that heart chakra to activate their Merkaba and their light body. And the Merkaba is symbolized as the Star of David. That Star of David, or a double star tetrahedron rotating in opposite directions. That Star of David is the heaven's forces, the pyramid going to heaven's forces, or Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and then the earth's forces are mind, body, soul, the body, the physical being, and these are pyramids. And what is a pyramid? A pyramid is pyro, pyrrha. Pyrrha is soul, fire, spirit, and mid is middle. And the pyramid of heaven's forces is centered at the heart. And the pyramid of earth's forces, when you activate your Merkaba, is centered at the heart. And that is the Star of David. And it is a process of shifting our consciousness. First waking up and realizing that we're spiritual beings. And then shifting our consciousness, which takes time, and it takes a desire, it takes intent, it takes focus, it takes wanting to become magical, wanting to live a synchronistic lifetime, wanting to develop into the avatar that we truly are. And we do this by shifting our consciousness from the head, ego, mind, duality, plurality into the heart, the oneness that we truly are, and start centering our polarities, our positive and negative, or male and female, bringing that all to center within our heart. And when we do that, and our electromagnetic torrid around our heart field starts generating the field around us, our power. That's really what it is. It's the power center. And then the Merkaba. The Merkaba is that Earth's forces pyramid and Heaven's forces pyramid that is spinning it's counter rotating spinning, but through the heart chakra. And from that point on, what we're doing is releasing more and more of the quantum traumas, lower electromagnetic vibrations, not necessarily memories, but the emotions of those memories. It's those emotions that's the electromagnetic field that raises or lowers your frequency. If somebody is in controlling, manipulation, trying to project on others in a negative way, they are they're using lower vibrations, and that is reflected in their quantum field. Right now, we're seeing so many persons that are hanging on to the 4D, still focused from their head and not their heart, really sinking into the snow globe rather quickly, kind of like wet snow, while those of us that are really doing our clearing and becoming those flakes are kind of floating in that snow globe much more readily than we ever have. Now, something that I noticed here in these past days, weeks, as we have gone through some really major shakeups in clearing in April, and then some smaller ones here in May, many persons in 3D and 4D are there setting those of us who are in 5D off, being triggers which has that ability to pull us out of the 5D and back into our heads. Just because you've activated does not necessarily mean you cannot be pulled back in your head. You can be. But the trick is to recognize it and to shift your consciousness back into your heart. That is mastery. Because our thoughts and our emotions create the reality that we experience in our law of attraction or in manifestation. Now we're going to materialization. And with materialization, we have instant manifestation. We have all this energy that we have created and contained within our field, the light which we have created and contained within our field from our chakra activation or our light body initiations and expansions that we can focus and direct into materialization. I've said this many times before. It's like Sai Baba making the 24 karat gold and diamond rings that are very real and test out very real, but he pulled it from his field. Or Jesus being able to walk on water or turn water into wine. And turning the water into wine, that's the one thing that I'm working on myself. That's but sooner or later we get to that materialization or avatar abilities. And what we're doing is, with all this clearing, we are really learning how to not be affected by negativity that's going on within our field, because in manipulations and control, we cannot control others when you're truly in 5D. You lower your vibrations when you control and manipulate others, when you try to bring them down or force them into thinking this way or doing that way. And those are karmic issues. And in 5D, you're really, in karma is electromagnetics. And what you put out actually returns to your field. And in 5D, you're releasing those electromagnetics, those lower vibrations, so that you can expand your light and you can start working on the steps to step into your avatar abilities. Now, you don't, by nature, the universe is not going to let you get to that point of avatar abilities where you can harm another on any type of great scale, because you could destroy the universe. You are a universal creator. You could destroy the world. It's not just messing with you and yourself. And so that's why so many people who say there's negative ETs on these higher levels, no, there's not. It doesn't work that way. There's negative ETs that might look like they've got higher abilities, might be able to literally control magic, control and do things, but they're playing 4D. There's, negative ETs are still in their head. You don't have negativity in a heart filled with love. It just does not work that way. And so anyway, for our true universal avatar abilities, rather than being a localized magician that does parlor tricks in front of people, for our true avatar abilities, on the universal, galactic, or universal scale, we've got to release these negativities so that we can hold higher and higher light. And that all has to do with how we treat the exterior illusion and the people who are out there. There's so many people right now that we've been associated with as we're going through this process of ascension, that as those layers of the snow globe, the 3D settles at the bottom and the 4D on top, there's so many of those persons in 4D really trying to grab a hold of those of us who are in our hearts in 5D, who they, these persons are used to controlling and manipulating and dominating or needing others, rather than getting out of the head and shifting into their heart and realizing that the way to change the situation is to release the fears, release the drama, release the electromagnetics, the karma that keeps them in 4D, and just free flow into their heart, living through that river of love and that energetic level. Now, that is the separation that's going on right now, that we are seeing so many people going through on Mother Earth. But you have to understand, everybody is going through this ascension process. how long it takes is going to be up to the individual. It's, a person in 3D, they've got to wake up to what's going on the exterior, and that they're a spiritual being before they can even step into 4D. In the 4D, you have to release the ego in your control and manipulation, trying to do things on the exterior of you to be able to create the 5D laws of attraction. And then the 5D people have to release those lower vibrations and traumatic experiences and the control and manipulation of others that has been done to them, and all the old crap that's been within that we're clearing out for ourselves, so that we can hold the higher light and step into the more 6D avatar and higher avatar abilities. And all you're doing is learning how to control and manipulate energy. And it's not control, it's asking that energy to work with you. That energy is you. You are all that is. I am all that is. You are all that is. I am you. You are me. We are we. We are one. There is only one. There can be only one. And that's what we're doing, is we're stepping up this ascension ladder, is we're just remembering all the steps. And you can't jump into avatar abilities until you've released negativities, fears, controls, and manipulations of others. And you can't step into your heart until you release your ego. You can't step into the spiritual until you realize you're spiritual. And so it's all various stairs on the stairway to heaven. And yeah, the energies right now, I woke up to feeling some major polarity, not just duality, but polarity is going on, although the intensity was extremely strong. And then I woke up finding that there was a X-class flare that in a couple of M-class flares that went off overnight. Now, the X-class flare is not Earth directed, and we're just getting a glancing blow off the M-class flares. But these will definitely be affecting those of us that in about 2 days. Let's see, it's the 13th, that should be coming in on the 15th. Those of us that are in our Merkaba and in our working from our light bodies in that field, that's going to be a big step up. And I would imagine the crystal beds that are underneath here in Florida are going to get quite a twang, a harmonics, a resonance that comes from this incoming solar flare. And right now, I think that, or I feel that these solar flares are being limited because we had such big ones in 2012 that was really designed to wake so many persons up, but so many people have not stepped into their higher light and done their clearing. And if we get too many solar flares, that super energy that's being stepped down and transformed, it's coming in from the galactic center as magnetics or light of the photon belt, and it's being stepped down and transformed in its frequency to be sent back out to Earth. And that's what solar flares and CMEs do. I think the ones that we were having in 2012 with those X classes, they really started off a lot of what we're feeling and experiencing right now, while we had to go through periods of quiet so that more and more persons could wake up and start stepping into that higher light. I think if we had too many of those large X-class solar flares Earth directed while the Earth's magnetosphere is down, it could possibly cause some real unhealthy and maybe even detrimental effects to the physical bodies of those persons who are not awake and aware and going through the process. What's going on with the Earth and the solar system and our point of location within this galaxy and the universe is allowing for these changes. That allows for the electromagnetics to shift within our solar system, our sun, and in the Earth, which allows for it within our Earth transportation mechanism, our physical bodies. And And we can't do it too quickly. We cannot go through, come out of those really dark and dense times, that 3D that we were so ingrained into, and just jump into 5D without harming the physical body. It is a transition process. And I think that's why we haven't had so many solar flares this year. We felt a lot of magnetics in solar winds and gamma ray bursts and other things, but the solar flares and CMEs, these are far more intense than a lot of these other, well, I can't say that is true. Some of these other bands that we've gone through, or X-ray bursts or gamma ray bursts, they've really been quite powerful too. So anyway, I think it's all just a process. It's very definitely designed on a higher level, and we're gradually coming into it. We're gradually coming into it as our physical beings can assimilate the higher light and higher energies. And it's all about a process. We've got to go through this whole process of waking up spiritually, of releasing the ego so we can go into 5D, of releasing the lower vibrations and those experiences, electromagnetics and controls and manipulations, and all that old patterning that we have before we can step into our avatar abilities. And it's all just a constant expansion of the light and raising of our frequencies. And it's all generated from our heart, from the pyramid, from the fire in the middle. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, we have definitely got a different color in the sky with the flares going on right now. It is quite fluorescent, but it feels so wonderful, and so interesting to see the process and to live through the process. And all my friends and relatives and family who's still in 4D, in the mind, mental control, manipulation, playing in the illusion, going after the material world, realize that this is going to be holding you back. This is a control issue. If you're not for everybody else on the outside, but you're trying to control everybody else on the outside so you can have your stuff, you're going to have very difficult problems. Anybody who's hanging on to that mental aspect, you're going to have some issues. And those of us in the higher vibrations now, we see through all the stuff clearly, and now we're having to separate from that. We cannot, to get to where we want to go, we have to release the controls and manipulations and dominations and the steering and guiding that was being forced on us before. And we see it. We always have seen it. But now we're saying no. And this is going on globally from those flakes of us that are hanging higher in those snow globes, while those of you that are hanging on to that mind ego are sinking down to the bottom fast. So lose the ego. Your mind is your consciousness, and the mind is not necessarily locked within the brain. The mind is what you use when you channel or astral project or you drop body. That is your mind. And your mind is your eternal being, your consciousness. That is who you are. Lose the ego. The ego is the focus that you are who you are in this lifetime. And that limits you to however many years you've been walking around on this planet, probably a whole lot less than 100. And the eternal self, the mind, the consciousness that you are, the connection to all that is, because you are all that is. You can only step into that by shifting that mind into the sacred spot of the heart and activating yourself. And so, anyway, boy, is the various levels to all this separating, and it's separating fast. But we'll have another shake up here coming soon, and a lot of those persons who are in 4D are going to be tired of being in 4D and being in those lower vibrations and being slapped with their lessons over and over, and they're going to say, I want to go into 5D. And the 3D persons are going to be waking up and saying, man, I really need to get control of this, and they'll start going through their process. So it's going to be continuing. And does it all have to happen within this lifetime? I hold the vision for that. I've said that before many times. But there are going to be people who cannot see through the veil and are hanging on to that, which might not make it through this lifetime. Although I hope and pray for each and every person. Let's get through this quickly, because literally when everybody's awake, everybody's in their heart, everybody has done their clearing and released the negativities and are out of that ego, we can change this planet. Everything that we believe is reality as a collective, as the collective timeline, will change that in an instant. There'll be no more Fukushima. There'll be no more Gulf oil spill. There'll be no more pollutants all over the planet. In fact, the place is going to be pretty magical once we get to that point, and it's going to be heaven here on earth. That's where we're going. That's the whole point of this exercise. And we had to go through the darkness, because without that darkness, you cannot realize the gifts that you have in the light, and you cannot really truly create on the greatest scales without understanding the principles of polarity, which was what duality was all about. So anyway, love you guys. Boy, 26 minutes. That seems like it was just a few minutes ago, and I'd already done about a 26 minute video that I didn't record before. So I hope this one goes through. I'm a flake. One of those snow. Man, it's going to come on when I say something profound. It's going to go off when I say something profound like that. Yeah, I'm one of those higher flakes that's hanging in there at the top levels. Just, I don't want to go to the bottom of that snow globe. I'm just going to float around in the ethers and enjoy it, being free. Anyway, love y'all. Bye for now.